What if I told you that the most advanced fighter jet in the world doesn't even exist on radar? That single sentence changes everything, because what we are talking about here is not just another fighter plane, not just another stealth experiment, but something far beyond. Its name, Phantom Hawk 2029, an invisible fighter jet that has never been officially announced to the world. The story of Phantom Hawk began as nothing more than a rumor. Around 2018, after a confidential Pentagon meeting, a few defense journalists wrote an unusual line: "America is working on something that even satellites can't see." At that time, most people dismissed it as just another conspiracy theory. But as the decade moved into the 2020s, whispers, leaks, and mysterious sightings transformed Phantom Hawk into a living legend. The big question is, what exactly is Phantom Hawk? Is it truly an invisible jet, designed not only to vanish from radar, but to disappear from the human eye itself? And if it's real, why has the United States never admitted its existence to the public? The birth of the idea of an invisible fighter jet isn't new. During the Cold War, the United States pioneered stealth technology aircraft designed to absorb or deflect radar waves. Famous examples include the F-117 Nighthawk and the B-2 Spirit bomber. But Phantom Hawk 2029 is something entirely different. It's not just stealth, it's a ghost jet, a machine engineered not only to disappear from radar screens, but to become invisible to optical sensors, thermal detectors, and perhaps even to the naked eye. In the early 2010s, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, quietly launched a program allegedly known as Project Mirage X. Its goal was crystal clear: create the world's first truly invisible aircraft. The science of invisibility. So how could Phantom Hawk be invisible? Traditional stealth jets like the F-22 and F-35 use radar-absorbing materials and angled shapes to deflect signals. But Phantom Hawk, according to insiders, uses something revolutionary: a metamaterial skin. The name Mirage X was never found in any official public documents. It surfaced only once in a leaked whistleblower report, which described it as a step beyond stealth. Metamaterials are engineered substances that can bend light and electromagnetic waves in unnatural ways. Imagine a radar beam striking the jet. Instead of bouncing back, it curves around the surface, leaving nothing to be detected. Now imagine that same principle applied to light waves. If the jet's skin can bend visible light, it becomes almost impossible to see with the human eye. This is believed to be the Phantom Hawk's greatest secret, an adaptive camouflage system that alters its surface to mimic the environment around it, a digital chameleon soaring through the skies. On top of that, leaked reports suggest the Phantom Hawk may use a cold plasma exhaust system, drastically reducing its infrared signature. In other words, even thermal cameras would fail to pick it out. The first rumors of a test flight in the summer of 2019, something strange happened in the skies above Nevada. A group of civilians reported seeing a strange glimmer, a reflection of light that hovered for just a few seconds before vanishing without a sound. 2 months later, an anonymous pilot posted on an aviation forum: "I can't give details, but let's just say I've flown something that can disappear in plain sight." The post went viral within hours and was mysteriously deleted soon after. Many believed the Pentagon itself had intervened. By then, the Phantom Hawk had become an obsession for aviation enthusiasts across the globe, a whisper that refuses to die. From 2020 onward, new rumors appeared every year. Some claimed to have heard its silent engine humming in the desert. Others insisted they'd seen blurred satellite images of something that couldn't be identified. And that's where the story turns from mysterious to chilling. Because after 2021, leaks suggested more than just sightings. They hinted at hidden test sites, classified images, and encounters that could prove the Phantom Hawk's existence. And then there were the boldest claims of all: that Phantom Hawk had already flown secret missions where it allegedly crossed into hostile airspace, including Russia, without ever being detected. So, is Phantom Hawk just a myth, born out of rumors and conspiracy theories? Or does America truly possess a fighter jet so advanced, so invisible, that the world won't believe it until it's too late?
Into the shadows. The Phantom Hawk's secret trials. The year was 2021. And the whispers around Phantom Hawk were no longer just rumors on obscure forums. They had become a storm, one that military enthusiasts, journalists, and even rival nations could no longer ignore. The United States officially kept silent. No documents, no press releases, nothing. Silence itself can be an answer. And behind that silence, the clues began to stack up. The desert, where secrets breathe, re-legend, has a birthplace. For Phantom Hawk, most fingers point to the Nevada desert, home to the infamous Area 51. Area 51 has always been a magnet for speculation, from alien spacecraft to experimental jets. But in late 2021, satellite imagery revealed something new. Unfamiliar hangars under rapid construction. Massive structures large enough to house aircraft bigger than an F-22. Analysts noticed unusual heat signatures near those hangars, but not the kind typical of standard aircraft engines. These were faint, almost absent. Some suggested it was evidence of a propulsion system designed to mask thermal emissions. Coincidence? Or was this the lair of the Phantom Hawk? The leaked photograph. Then came the photograph. In early 2022, an anonymous Reddit user posted a grainy image allegedly taken from a high-altitude drone. The photo showed what looked like a triangular silhouette, blurred and ghostly, hovering above the desert floor. At first glance, it could have been dismissed as a camera glitch. But aviation experts noticed the reflection pattern on the body didn't match any known jet. It appeared to be absorbing light unnaturally. Within hours, the image was shared worldwide, fueling countless debates. Was it real? Was it fabricated? The original poster vanished from the platform, leaving their account forever. Some claimed government agencies pressured them into silence. Others insisted it was all part of a deliberate disinformation campaign, the ghost missions. But the most chilling rumors weren't about test flights over Nevada. They were about missions carried out beyond American soil. One story emerged from Eastern Europe. In mid-2022, a radar operator in a NATO country reported something unusual. A sudden disturbance in the airspace, with no aircraft visible on their screens. And yet, their thermal cameras showed nothing. No heat, no shape, only a faint distortion in the sky. Hours later, several Russian news outlets reported mysterious sonic booms over their territory, with no trace of an aircraft. Officials offered no explanation, but aviation bloggers were quick to connect the dots. Phantom Hawk had flown a mission across hostile borders, and no one had seen it coming. A rival's reaction if Phantom Hawk was real. The world's superpowers couldn't ignore it. In 2023, whispers began to surface from Russia and China. Russian defense analysts hinted at an American aircraft that does not cast a shadow. Chinese military forums spoke cryptically of a phantom bird capable of disappearing mid-flight. Whether these were acknowledgments or propaganda remains unclear. But one thing was certain: the idea of Phantom Hawk had unsettled global military balance. The man who spoke too much, perhaps the most haunting piece of evidence, came not from leaks or photographs, but from a man's words. A retired U.S. Air Force colonel, during an interview, was asked about America's next-generation aircraft. With a knowing smile, he replied, "We already have the technology you think belongs to the future. Some planes don't need to be seen to exist." The interview cut off immediately after that line. Official transcripts later omitted the statement, but the recording had already circulated online. Was it just a slip of the tongue, or a deliberate breadcrumb left behind? The fear of exposure. By the end of 2023, Phantom Hawk was no longer just a rumor. It was a shadow haunting global defense circles. And then came the boldest claim yet, that Phantom Hawk was tested in real combat. Some sources argued it had been deployed during covert missions in the Middle East, where surveillance drones mysteriously failed to detect an intruding object. Officials, of course, denied everything. But denials, as history has shown, often mean the truth is too dangerous to admit. So here we are, standing at the edge of myth and reality. The world has seen strange photographs, whispered testimonies, and unexplained events. But if Phantom Hawk truly exists, one question remains unanswered. What exactly powers this invisible beast? Because if the rumors are true, the Phantom Hawk doesn't just fly, it bends physics itself. The science behind the shadow. By the time whispers of the Phantom Hawk reached mainstream audiences, one thing had become clear: this was no ordinary fighter jet. If it truly existed, it was decades ahead of anything the world had seen before. But What could possibly make a 30-meter machine vanish into thin air? How could an aircraft evade not just radar, but the very eyes of those looking at the sky? The answers, as always, were hidden within the frontier of experimental science, cloaking through metamaterials. First theory revolved around metamaterials, artificial structures designed to manipulate electromagnetic waves. Unlike ordinary materials, metamaterials can bend light, radar, and even sound around an object. Imagine water flowing around a rock in a river. To the water, the rock doesn't exist. Metamaterials could do the same with electromagnetic waves. If Phantom Hawk was coated with such a skin, it wouldn't just deflect radar, it could redirect it, leaving nothing but an empty void in the sky. Some scientists laughed at the idea, claiming it was impossible to achieve at such a massive scale. But leaked patents from American defense contractors told another story. A 2018 document described a light-bending adaptive surface capable of cloaking military vehicles. Coincidence? Or a breadcrumb leading straight to Phantom Hawk? Engine that doesn't burn. Then came the propulsion question. Traditional jets roar with the sound of combustion. They leave trails, heat signatures, and unmistakable sonic booms. Phantom Hawk, however, seemed silent, cold, and invisible. Some theorists suggested ion propulsion engines that accelerate ions with electromagnetic fields. Normally used in satellites, ion engines are nearly silent and produce little heat, but they're also weak, unsuitable for a fighter jet, unless the United States had cracked the code of high-energy plasma drives. According to a leaked DARPA report, experimental plasma-based propulsion systems had been tested as early as 2015. If perfected, engines could generate incredible thrust while leaving behind almost no infrared signature. No flames, no noise, no heat. Just a ghost gliding through the sky. The sound of silent eyewitnesses who claimed to have seen the Phantom Hawk in motion often described the same eerie detail. It made no sound. That defied physics. Any object tearing through the sky at Mach 2 or Mach 3 should scream with deafening thunder. But what if Phantom Hawk used active noise cancellation technology, similar to headphones, that block sound, but on a colossal scale? Microphones along the fuselage could detect incoming sound waves and instantly project counterwaves, erasing the aircraft's acoustic footprint. A jet that flies like a whisper. The neural cockpit and other. It's mystery with the cockpit itself. If Phantom Hawk truly existed, who could fly such a machine? Rumors suggested that traditional controls were outdated. Instead, the aircraft might use a neural interface, directly connecting the pilot's brain to the jet system's science fiction. Not entirely. In 2019, DARPA announced progress in brain-machine interfaces that allowed pilots to control swarms of drones with their thoughts. Scaling that to a single aircraft wasn't impossible, especially if the U.S. was decades ahead of public science. Imagine a pilot thinking a maneuver and the jet executing it instantly, with no physical delay, bending more than light. But perhaps the most radical theory was this. Phantom Hawk didn't just hide from sight. It bent space itself. Some French scientists speculated that experimental gravity manipulation technology was at play, a system that could warp local spacetime around the aircraft, making it not only invisible, but untouchable. If true, Phantom Hawk wasn't just a fighter jet. It was humanity's first step into a new era of physics. The price of secrecy, of course. These were just theories. Officially, the U.S. denied everything, but every new piece of evidence, the strange heat signatures, the unexplained sonic disturbances, the pilots who swore they saw something vanish mid-air, all pointed to the same chilling conclusion. Phantom Hawk wasn't just a project. It was a revolution, and revolutions come at a cost. The cost of secrecy, the cost of power, and perhaps the cost of peace. Hook for Part 4. If Phantom Hawk truly exists, then its purpose becomes the final question. What is America planning to do with an invisible fighter jet? Because a weapon this powerful isn't built for display. It's built for war. Asterisk, the Phantom's purpose, by now. The pieces of the puzzle were scattered across decades of speculation, leaks, and whispers. The Phantom Hawk wasn't just an engineering marvel. It was a strategic weapon, one that that could rewrite the balance of power across the entire world. The invisible advantage in modern warfare. Visibility is vulnerability. Satellites scan the skies, drones patrol borders, and radar networks blanket continents. If America truly possessed an aircraft that could erase itself from detection, it would hold the ultimate trump card. A Phantom Hawk could fly undetected over enemy territory, gather intelligence, strike with precision, and vanish, leaving no trail, no warning, and no evidence. It wouldn't just dominate the battlefield. It would terrify entire nations. The deterrence factor weapons of mass destruction once held the power to prevent war. Nuclear arsenals acted as a chilling deterrent. But nuclear weapons were crude, destructive, and politically toxic. Phantom Hawk, however, was a weapon of surgical precision. It could eliminate threats silently, without fallout, without global condemnation. One jet, it's invisible and unstoppable, could change the outcome of wars before they even began. And that was perhaps its greatest danger. The shadows of secrecy. The Phantom Hawk existed. Why hadn't it been revealed? Why keep such a powerful weapon hidden? The answer lay in deniability. An invisible aircraft left no proof behind. If it struck, governments could always deny involvement. It wasn't us, they could say, while the evidence, or the lack of it, worked in their favor. In the age of digital warfare, disinformation was as powerful as bombs. Phantom Hawk was designed to thrive in that shadowy world. The Phantom's test flights, sun confirmed. Reports from 2027 told of strange disturbances near classified test sites in Nevada and the Pacific. Locals swore they saw shimmering distortions in the sky, like heat waves without heat. Pilots claimed they tracked radar contacts that appeared one moment and vanished the next. Some even spoke of being chased by nothing, locked onto by a presence they couldn't see. Of course, the government denied it all. But every denial only fueled the legend. The global fear of America had the Phantom Hawk. What would China do? What about Russia? The mere possibility of its existence could trigger an arms race unlike any in history. Nations would scramble to develop their own invisible weapons to counter a threat they couldn't even detect. The Phantom Hawk didn't need to be deployed in combat. This rumor alone was enough to destabilize geopolitics. The future of war Phantom Hawk wasn't just a fighter jet. It was a statement. The future of war would no longer be about who had the biggest missiles, the strongest armies, or the deadliest bombs. It would be about who could control the unseen. Wars fought in silence, battles waged by ghosts, power measured not in firepower, but in invisibility. If Phantom Hawk existed, it was the first step into that terrifying future. The human cost, but behind the technology, the strategy, and the politics, there were humans. The pilots, trained to control a machine that no one could see. The engineers, sworn to secrecy, unable to share their life's work. And the citizens, living under the shadow of a weapon they might never know about until the day it's unleashed. Progress always comes at a price. The question is, who pays it? The final question, so, does Phantom Hawk really exist? Or is it just a myth carefully crafted to keep America's enemies guessing? Maybe the truth lies somewhere in between. Maybe the Hawk is real, but not yet ready. Or maybe it has already flown, already changed history in ways we'll never know. All we can be sure of is this: if one day sky goes silent and a shadow passes overhead that no one can see, we'll know the Phantom Hawk has finally revealed itself. The world has always feared what it cannot see, and perhaps that's the greatest weapon of all.